My name is Lucia McKinley. I'm 32 years old. The call from my dad came on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of afternoon that feels unfinished before it even begins. The sky outside my apartment was a dull gray, the air heavy and unmoving. I was standing in the kitchen, staring at a mug of coffee that had already gone cold, when my phone buzzed on the counter. I almost didn't answer. Something in my chest tightened as soon as I saw his name. It wasn't fear, it was familiarity. That quiet, learned instinct that said, brace yourself. Lucia, my dad said, his voice careful, like he was stepping around broken glass. We're going to have to postpone the Hawaii trip. I didn't speak right away. I waited for the explanation I already knew was coming. Money. He said things were tight, that prices had gone up, that they'd looked at the numbers again, and it just wasn't realistic right now. My mom was on speaker too, jumping in with soft apologies, saying they felt terrible, that we'd do it another time. That's okay, I said finally. I understand. And I thought I did. Families hit rough patches, budgets change, plans fall apart. I told myself it was normal. I told myself they were being honest. What I didn't tell them, what I hadn't told anyone, was how badly I needed that trip. Not because I was desperate to sit on a beach or drink something with a tiny umbrella in it. I needed it because my life felt like it was suffocating me from the inside, because my apartment still smelled like Evan. My boyfriend of 4 years had left 2 months earlier. He walked out on a Sunday morning, right after breakfast. The dishes were still in the sink. His coffee cup was half full, steam curling up into the air like it didn't realize everything was about to end. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, and told me his ex-girlfriend was pregnant. Not might be, not could be. Pregnant. He said it like he was reading off a grocery list. Calm, final, like it had already happened to someone else. He grabbed his jacket and left me sitting on the couch, staring at the faint indentation where he'd been sitting seconds before. The smell of his cologne lingered in the air, cruel and familiar. I didn't tell my family. I didn't want the pity. I didn't want the questions. I definitely didn't want my mom's advice about forgiveness or timing or how everything happens for a reason. So I carried it alone. That's why the Hawaii trip mattered. I needed something warm, something normal, a few days where I could breathe without pretending I was fine. When my dad said they couldn't afford it, I believed him. I hung up the phone thinking, at least they told me the truth. 3 days later, my aunt, who has never understood privacy settings in her life, posted an album on Facebook. Aloha from Paradise. I wasn't tagged. At first, I thought it had to be old, a throwback, something from years ago. My thumb hovered over the screen as I refreshed the page again and again. The date was today. The first photo was my parents standing in front of the exact hotel I had booked. Same entrance, same curved driveway, same palm tree leaning slightly to the left, like it always did in the listing photos. My sister and her husband were clinking glasses by the pool, smiling like they were in a brochure. My brother, who had claimed a work emergency, was waving from the beach like a postcard model. And then there was the dog. My sister's dog, tongue out, tiny Hawaiian shirt, sunglasses balanced on its nose. Everyone was there, everyone except me. I sat on my couch, the one Evan used to fall asleep on, scrolling in silence. I refreshed the album 3 times, half expecting it to disappear. It didn't. That's when it hit me. The shared travel wallet. I was the one who found the deal, the one who coordinated the reward points, the one who upgraded the rooms and linked my card just in case. I'd done it automatically, the way I always did, being helpful, being reliable, being useful. I opened the app. Room service charges, spa treatments, dinner for 6 at a beachside restaurant, a private boat tour. My money was paying for their paradise while I sat alone in an apartment that still had Evan's clothes hanging in the closet and his shampoo in the shower. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I froze the travel wallet. Every card linked to it, gone. Then I logged into the hotel booking site and flagged the reservation. Not canceled, just marked as unauthorized use. Just enough to make things uncomfortable. At 2:37 a.m., my phone lit up. A missed call from my mom. Then another. Then a text. What's going on? Another message. Lucia, can you please respond? Then, finally, in all caps, like she was trying to scream through the screen. Why is everything declined? I didn't reply. I opened Venmo and sent her wire. Just one, with a note that said, vacation looks great. Don't forget who set it up. Then I put my phone on silent, turned off the lights, and lay back in bed. I wasn't smiling. I wasn't celebrating. But for the first time in months, I didn't feel like the fool. By morning, my phone looked like it had survived a fire drill. 12 missed calls, most from my mom, a few from my sister, one from a number I didn't recognize, probably the hotel. My screen was cluttered with notifications stacked on top of each other, each one vibrating with a different shade of panic. I didn't open anything right away. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, letting the reality settle. Somewhere across the ocean, my family had woken up in crisp white sheets, confused and embarrassed, trying to swipe cards that no longer worked. When I finally picked up my phone, the text came flooding in. Everything's being declined. Did you change something? Lucia, this is really awkward. We can't pay for anything. Call me, now. And then my mom, again, in all caps, why would you do this to us? That one almost made me laugh. Do this to us. As if I'd booked myself a front row seat to their vacation and then stormed out in a tantrum. As if I hadn't been quietly erased before any of this even happened. I didn't respond. Instead, I got dressed, made fresh coffee, and sat at the table like it was any other day. I knew what would come next. They wouldn't sit with the discomfort for long. They never did. By noon, my cousin Ellie texted me. Do you have a minute? Ellie had always been observant in that quiet way. She never liked the annual family trips, said they felt staged, like everyone was auditioning for the role of happy. She sent me a screenshot before I could answer. It was a family group chat I wasn't part of. My mom's message sat right in the center of the screen. Lucia's been unpredictable since the breakup. I think she's spiraling. She lashed out and canceled things because she couldn't handle being left out. We had no idea she'd become this unstable. Unstable. I stared at the word until the letters blurred. Unstable. After I'd paid bills without being asked. After I'd offered to cover part of the trip when my dad hinted they were tight on money. After I'd kept my mouth shut when Evan left me and told me he was having a child with another woman. Unstable, after I stitched my life together every day without asking anyone to notice. Ellie followed up with another message. I know this isn't true, but people are already believing her. That was the moment something in me shifted. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. They hadn't just lied to me, they had rewritten me. Turned my silence into instability, my boundaries into cruelty, my absence into proof that something was wrong with me. I opened my laptop. If they wanted a story, I'd give them facts. I logged into my rewards accounts, every airline mile, every hotel perk tied to my name. I flagged unauthorized use, locked access, reversed upgrades I had paid for. The car rental, frozen. The room upgrades, gone. I knew it would make leaving the island difficult, maybe even humiliating. And for the first time, I didn't feel bad about that. That night, I sent one last message to the family group chat, using the screenshot Ellie had sent me. I highlighted the word unstable. Underneath it, I typed, keep talking. Then I blocked my mom's number. When they came back from Hawaii, there were no apologies, no explanations, just silence. The kind that pretends if no one acknowledges what happened, it will somehow disappear. But silence has a way of getting loud. 2 days later, my uncle called, told me I should make peace, that my mom was hurt, that families shouldn't let pride ruin everything. I thanked him for calling, hung up, and drove 40 minutes to my parents' house. No warning, no text. They were in the middle of dinner when I walked in. My sister froze mid-bite. My dad stared at his plate. My mom's face tightened like she'd been expecting this and dreading it all at once. You lied, I said calmly. You took the vacation I planned and paid for. You told me you couldn't afford it. And when I found out, you told people I was unstable. No one spoke. My mom started to say something soft, something familiar, something that sounded like you don't understand. I cut her off. The shared wallet is gone. The backup card is gone. Every benefit you were using under my name is canceled. My dad didn't look up. You made your choice, I said. Now I'm making mine. I left without waiting for a response. That night, the messages started coming in. From relatives, not from them. Lectures about forgiveness, about family, about letting things go. Not one of them asked what actually happened. They already had a story, and I was the villain in it. I expected fallout, whispers, awkward phone calls, maybe a half-hearted apology wrapped in excuses. What I didn't expect was nothing. No text from my mom, no call from my dad, no message from my sister. Just silence, thick, deliberate, and strategic. The kind of silence meant to wait me out, to make me uncomfortable enough to crawl back and smooth things over like I always did. Instead, the noise came from everyone else. Voicemails stacked up over the next few days. Aunt Carol telling me I'd gone too far. Uncle Ray reminding me that my parents were getting older and stress did strange things to people. Cousin Josh saying my mom had been crying nonstop. Not one of them asked why. They didn't ask if it hurt to be lied to. They didn't ask what it felt like to watch my family enjoy a vacation I planned while pretending I didn't exist. They didn't ask what my life looked like after Evan left. They already had the version they were comfortable with. The one where I was emotional, unstable, jealous. I stopped returning calls. I left the family group chat. Deleted birthdays from my calendar. Closed the emergency account I'd kept open since college, just in case. Canceled the spare phone line on my parents' plan that I'd been quietly paying for. Every small convenience I'd built into their lives, gone. It wasn't revenge, it was maintenance. Like removing splinters before they turned into infections. A week later, my cousin Ellie called again. Her voice was different this time, lower, cautious. "I was at your parents' place last night," she said. "We had a few drinks." I didn't interrupt. "Your mom started ranting," Ellie continued. "Said you were mentally spiraling after the breakup, that you ruined the trip out of resentment because you didn't respond fast enough. She said you've been stealing from the family for years." I closed my eyes. Ellie paused. "I know she's lying, Lucia, but people are believing her." That was it. Something inside me went quiet. Not numb, resolved. I'd spent years defending them, covering gaps, smoothing edges, absorbing blame. And for what? So the moment I stopped being useful, they could repaint me as a problem? The next morning, I called a lawyer. I had my name formally removed from everything that tied me to them. Financial accounts, cosigns, health proxies, emergency contacts. I signed papers that felt heavier than they looked. 2 weeks passed after the letters were delivered. Still nothing. No protest, no anger, no attempt to explain. Just the absence of me settling into their lives like it had always been that way. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. I slept through the night. I laughed without forcing it. I started to feel like my life was coming back online, piece by piece. Then a voicemail came through from a blocked number. It was my dad. His voice wasn't angry, it was tired. He said he got the letter, said he understood. Then, almost as an afterthought, he added that my mom wasn't doing well. Memory lapses, confusion, paranoia. He said she'd rewritten the vacation in her mind, convinced herself I wouldn't have come even if I'd been invited. I thought of little things I'd brushed off before, her calling me by the wrong name, forgetting my dog had died years ago. Still, it didn't explain the lies, the smearing, the manipulation. Later that afternoon, Ellie texted again. "Did you reactivate the emergency card? Your dad's using it." My stomach dropped. I hadn't. When I checked the account, it was active. New charges, pharmacy, medical supplies, a clinic. They were using it quietly, hoping I wouldn't notice, hoping I'd let it slide because family. I shut the card down. Then I sent my dad one message. "The card is gone. Don't contact me again." And I blocked him. 3 days later, the voicemail started. Aunt Carol again. Guilt this time. My sister had said my dad broke down in a parking lot after a card declined. My mom had sat next to him, confused, asking why they even needed medicine. And then the word that hit hardest. "They're saying you abandoned them." Abandoned. Not excluded, not lied to, not manipulated. Abandoned. That was the story now. And no matter what I said, no matter how many facts existed, that was the version they'd chosen. The word abandoned followed me everywhere for a while. It sat in my chest when I woke up. It echoed in my head when I tried to fall asleep. It was sharp and unfair and heavy in a way that felt intentional, like it had been chosen specifically because it hurt the most. I didn't call anyone back. I already knew how those conversations would go. They'd start soft, sympathetic, then they'd pivot. "They're still your parents. They're scared. Your mom isn't well." Every sentence designed to pull me back into the same role I'd always played, the fixer, the forgiver, the one who absorbed the damage so everyone else could feel better. A week later, a handwritten letter arrived. I recognized my mom's handwriting immediately. Neat, rounded, careful, the kind of writing that always looked calm, even when she wasn't. I let it sit on the counter for hours before opening it. It started sweet. She wrote about missing me, about family, about how much she loved me. Then, slowly, the tone shifted. She said she forgave me, that she understood I'd been going through a lot, that I'd acted out of pain. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of the lies, no mention of Hawaii, no accountability, just a rewritten version of events where I was the one who had hurt them. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer. Not because it meant something, but because I needed to remember how easily kindness could become a weapon when it was built on denial. The next morning, I finished what I'd started. I removed my name from every remaining legal tie: medical forms, emergency contacts, power of attorney. I signed documents with a steady hand, feeling each signature close another door. 6 months passed. No calls, no texts, silence. Peaceful finally. Ellie still checked in occasionally. She told me my sister was telling people I'd cut everyone off over a vacation. I let it stand. I wasn't interested in defending myself anymore. Then a photo arrived in the mail. My family at the beach, smiling, sunburned, happy. On the back, in my mom's handwriting, "We still love you." I stared at it for a long time. Then I burned it in the sink. Because love without honesty isn't love, it's control. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. 2 months ago, I applied for a new apartment. Everything was smooth until the leasing office flagged my emergency contact. Someone had changed it to my mom through my old healthcare portal. They'd accessed it using a saved password from their house. I drove to their place immediately. No call, no warning. I laid the printed email on the table. My mom looked confused. My dad tried to calm things down, talking about misunderstandings and concern. "You thought I cut you off," I said. "You thought wrong." I asked my dad if he'd be okay with me making myself his medical proxy without asking. He didn't answer. Before I left, I made it clear: if you try something like this again, I won't bring paperwork. I'll bring law enforcement. That landed. When I got home, I wiped every digital trace they could reach. Changed passwords, revoked access, locked everything down. Then I did what I should have done long ago. I legally changed my last name. Just my middle name. Simple, quiet, mine. The final thread was cut. They had their chances. They used them to lie, manipulate, and invade. When I walked away, they tried to sneak back in. But the door is closed now, and I'm not looking back.